Wait for it, Jeff.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to this episode of Axiom Flux. It's the 14th of January 2018. It's season 4, episode 10 of Axiom Flux tonight, and we have with us some great guests. We've got usual STAV with us. Right, STAV, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. The death of the natural world, yeah? That's what it's called.
Yeah, the topic tonight is the death of the natural world. Thank you, STAV, for reminding me of that. We've got with us PJ as well. Hello, PJ. You all right, mate?
Yeah, evening, Jeff. Evening, guys.
All right, buddy. We've also got with us LOPI from America, from the land of the free, as they say. All right, LOPI. And we've got with us also Michael. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Sam.
How you all doing? You all right?
Too bad.
How are you getting on with your New Year's resolutions? Have you made any or not? I've made one this year to quit quitting stuff and to take up as many bad habits as possible. That way, I know I can achieve my goals. Right, okay, on with the show. Well, tonight we've got a show about the death of the natural world. What's happening in our ecosystems and what's causing all these problems. It's all sort of open to debate. There's all sorts of different things we can cover. I've got an article that I want to read out as well. Stav has he's put a couple of articles for me to play from YouTube. I don't know where you want to start with it tonight, Stav. Where would you like to start, mate?
Well, yeah, I've got a couple of YouTube videos. What I think what's happening and how human beings are losing touch totally with reality and the natural world and their surroundings, because they're trapped within this called world, and they can't seem to pull themselves away from it, like smart, or I call them not so smart phones, for a lot of reasons. And I've got a couple of videos. I'd like to kick off with those first. We don't mind. One's about 12 minutes and one's only about 4 minutes. The first one is it's about, like I say, they're not so smartphones, as I call them, right. And how people are oblivious to the natural world around them and the world around them in general, where they seem to be completely submersed into this digital world, and everything revolves through a little tiny screen in the hand, and nothing else matters.
Seems to be a type of addiction for most people, it would seem to me, with the the iPhone stuff.
I think so too, and it's anyway. It's 5. I can't remember the title of it. I don't know if you want to bring it up. The first one.
To get it up on screen, do you? The bottom one, yeah.
Please, Jeff. Don't forget to share. And
all right, I'm just getting it up on screen now. I'm going to have to screen share it as well. Let me get the thing back up 1 second. Okay, right, let's screen share. Oh, it says I'm presenting to everyone already, am I?
Yeah, just click the green arrow.
Oh, I've still got to do that, yeah? Okay. Yeah. Oh, he's going all funny, like in a tunnel.
That's right. Click on that video.
Hang on. I'm trying to get the... it's all right, I've got it. Can you see that all right, Stav?
That's the one. 5... Yeah.
Okay, what? Just play the full 5 minutes, yeah?
Please, whatever what it says underneath, but you moved it up a bit, but doesn't matter. Play it, Jeff.
Here we go. All right, on with the show. Here we go.
When was the last time?
Oh dear, an advert. Okay, skip that.
I felt compelled to leave this note on the car of a woman who almost plowed into us at an intersection on our way to the grocery store because she was too busy on her phone To be bothered to drive the 2-ton death machine she was about to let plow right into us because she wasn't paying attention. And that's something that happens pretty much on a weekly basis anymore, that we have to try and avoid people who cannot drive their car because they have to be on the phone, possibly killing themselves or killing us. People are becoming so attached to their smartphones that you can barely find a person who will leave the house without one anymore. The average person now touches their smartphone display over 2,600 times a day, probably more than anything else they touch at all. Studies have found that nearly half of all people who own one use it for an alarm clock too, so they're sleeping with an EMF emitting device, which even the World Health Organization has now classified as possibly carcinogenic, right in their bedroom, in some cases right next to their pillow on a bedside stand, or even under it.
An Alabama man was almost electrocuted while sleeping with his iPhone, or his phone in general, charging in his bed.
Our whole society is being edited around having a smartphone now. Signs have been put up at college campuses to remind students to look up. That's a thing that exists now. And the Department of Transportation and probably every state in this country are constantly putting up signs on the side of highways reminding people if they text and drive, they could likely kill themselves or someone else.
We got a text. It's from that cute guy, Patrick. Look. Ooh la la.
It is to the point now that movie theaters like AMC are talking about changing their policy to allow smartphones to be on and be used during films, even though the entire point of going to the movie is supposed to be to actually watch the freaking movie. And as I've mentioned many times before, because it still blows my mind, certain countries are installing special smartphone user sidewalks to try and keep people who can't even afford to pay attention while walking outside near traffic from being turned into street pizza. We aren't programming this technology anymore, you guys. It's programming us. It is rewiring us to require a near constant electrostimulus. So here are just 5 examples of how this is changing us, rewiring us, engineering us. First, you have the rise of the constant checker. You've seen these people in public, I guarantee it. It's the person that even when they set their phone down, say at a table or something like that at a restaurant while they're eating, they still have to continuously touch it anyway, even if they're not actually looking at it. Studies have shown that 43% of people in America, and I'm sure this trend probably holds for developed nations, are considered constant checkers, which is probably on the increase. People who constantly obsessively have to check their phone, their email, their Facebook, their Twitter, their Instagram, their text, online news sites, whatever it is, they cannot live a normal life anymore without their phone with them all the time. Studies on these people actually show they have a significantly higher level of stress than people who don't do this to themselves, with over 40% of them realizing that they're basically addicted to the stimuli and that it might have a negative effect on their physical and mental health, but they continue to do it anyways because they just cannot help it. Then this just came out, brain drain, a study that showed that the mere presence of a smartphone in a room doesn't even have to be, you don't even have to be using it. Just having it in the room for a large number of people actually reduces cognitive capacity just by being in the room. So don't even have to be on the phone, but just the fact that what they called an attractive high priority stimuli like the smartphone being there in the room is enough to drain mental resources for a lot of people. And how they figured this out was they had college students, they put them in a room, and some of them had the phone in the room with them, either on a desk or in a bag or in a pocket. And then they had them do math problems. And they had another group of college students and they put the smartphone in another room entirely. And the students who had their phone in the other room did significantly better on the test. It was simple math problems. It wasn't hard stuff. But what they also found on the test is that people who had the phone in the room answered that they thought the phone being there had no effect on them, which also shows a contrast between what people think and the actual reality. And speaking of an effect on reality, Twitter rumors have caused everything from a run on the banks in Kazakhstan to the fact that Facebook has now been referred to as the best human research lab ever. And as Kashmir Hill of Forbes points out, there's no need to get experiment participants to sign pesky consent forms, as they've already agreed to Facebook's data use policy. A team of Facebook data scientists are constantly coming up with new ways to study human behavior through the social network. And I know I've pointed this out in videos before, but I think it's so important. And considering now that Facebook has just hit an average of 2 billion users per month, it bears repeating that in 2002, Facebook ran a random experiment on nearly 700,000 users for a week, where they would show them either positive, happy stuff in their feeds or negative, depressing stuff in their feeds. And what do you know? The people with the happy feeds posted happy posts, and the people with the negative stuff tended to post angry, depressing stuff. So it isn't just that people are addicted to checking it every other 5 minutes, but Facebook has proven with quite a large sample group for any psychological research study that it can manipulate people's emotions. They have that power, and now they've got 2 billion users a month with which to do it. I also read, and unbelievably, but I guess this is where we're at, that researchers at Birkbeck, University of London, and King's College London say that 3/4 of all UK toddlers, that's children between the age of 6 months and 3 years old, now use iPads or smartphones every day. 6-month-olds using iPads every day. I mean, just that's what's going on. And I don't know how many times I've personally seen this, but we'll be sitting down to dinner at a restaurant and a mother will come in, plunk her small kid down, and immediately prop up an iPad right in front of his face and then pull out her phone. They don't talk to each other. They don't look at each other. If the kid tries to get his mom's attention, maybe show her something happening in the cartoon or whatever that she's turned on to distract him, she won't even look because she's too concerned with checking Instagram or whatever on her phone to even give her own kid the time of day. Parents are admittedly ignoring their children, and the children are learning to ignore everyone else because of it. And studies are showing that smartphone addicted parents have more negative interactions with their children when they do interact with their children. But is all of it having physical consequences too?
A new study out of the University of California, Irvine says devoting more attention to your smartphones than your children could mean they'll have improper brain development and emotional disorders later in life.
And that's certainly what's being suggested by the fact that social skills have now eroded to the point that college students are having to take etiquette classes to try and relearn even the basics on how to physically interact with people in real life. And experts are even warning that children spending all their time on these kinds of devices are showing a startling lack of ability not only to read other people's emotions, but a lack of being able to show empathy, kind of like little robots, which kind of makes you wonder what it's going to look like in another few generations of this, actually. And then finally, I know I've mentioned this before, but Microsoft Canada came out with a study a few years back which showed that the human attention span has shrunk overall from 12 seconds in the year 2000 to 8 seconds in 2013, which the tech giant noted is 1 second shorter than the attention span of the average goldfish. And I went and got the study and read it, and it was actually written by Microsoft to its corporate customer base to show how they could advertise things to people in a world where technology is decreasing everyone's ability to pay attention long enough to even care about what's in an ad. And of course, Microsoft did what it could to put a positive spin on all of this. But after reading through it, not only is it obvious they're talking about human beings as if we are now mere computers, but it's also pretty evident to me that the technology is definitely programming the people more than the people are programming it. The thing has creepy lines like, it's no surprise that increased media consumption and digital lifestyles reduce the ability for consumers to focus for extended periods of time. But I never would have guessed that tech-savvy consumers are getting better at processing information and encoding that information to memory. If there's no need to stay tuned in, why not move on to the next new and exciting thing for another hit of dopamine? Yeah. So we're not only being completely removed from actual reality, but now we're becoming these little techno junkies that are just looking out for that next hit of dopamine. That's how they discuss us, like little human, biological, android, programmable computers that are just down to where can we get our next hit of stimulus. Someone on a video we did just a little while back left a comment that it's getting to the point where the majority of everyone can't even remember what they did last week anymore. So when you add all that together and really think about it, who could argue that the zombie apocalypse isn't already here? But this problem has reached a level now where people are actually doing what's called a digital detox. And companies are providing this where they will take you somewhere and make sure you're not allowed to have your phone. But you go somewhere for several days without any devices, no phones, no tablets, no computers, no TV, nothing, which used to just be the way people lived anyway, just saying. But these days, that's considered radical. Studies on these people show that they physically start interacting with each other differently when they don't have their phone. Not only are they not Googling everything, for one thing, they actually have to use their own brain to figure things out. But for two, they actually start making more eye contact with each other. They sit more upright. They become more physically involved in the conversation. They become more present in the real world. Every single one of these people is on their phone. I would just challenge everybody to ask yourselves when the last time was you just went up to the grocery store without your phone. I mean, I've asked people in my own life when the last time they tried it. And what I hear all the time from people is, what if something happened? I lived on this planet for 2 decades without a cell phone, and hardly ever did something happen that I had to know what that was while I'm trying to buy broccoli or something. Or did I have to be interrupted with beeps and texts and calls while I'm trying to just buy some food, which is a basic thing you need to survive? Most likely what will happen is you won't bump your cart into someone else you didn't see because you weren't paying attention while you're supposed to be grocery shopping. The world is not going to explode if you don't have a phone. I know my inbox looks like a nightmare from hell, but I really don't care. I cannot allow myself to be a slave to these things. Sometimes you just have to turn it off, go outside, ground yourself, stare at a tree, as my dad used to say. We don't have to become dehumanized, programmed biological androids who only know how to interact with each other through a technological medium and who are just looking for that next hit of electrostimulus dopamine. We don't have to be dehumanized down to that level by our technology. As technology advances, it's going to begin encroaching on us more and more and ultimately invading our bodies and our brains. But we don't have to give up our humanity. But looking around, I'm just really worried that a lot of people will.
Right.
I recently felt compelled to leave this note on a car of a woman who almost...
Who stopped it, Jeff? Good man. Right, we lost Jeff altogether there. Play the next video. Well, there you are. We could all say we've all noticed that, can't we? What do you think, PJ?
Hello, Mel.
Hello, are you listening?
Yeah.
Muted again. Everybody's muted up for some reason. What's this? Why is this muted up? Why is everybody muted up? You'll have to tell me. Well, Jeff's not muted up.
I'm back. I don't know what happened there. I think my internet went down or something. Did you get to see the whole video?
At the end, yeah, you switched it off. It started playing again, and then everything disappeared. You disappeared with it. So.
Oh, very strange. So you got to see the whole video, yeah?
Yeah, got to see the whole video. Thanks very much for that. I hope the other guys and girls saw it. I hope so, because the message is clear, isn't it? I think we can all agree that.
Well, I saw that, Jeff. I watched it all, heard it all.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I think it's making us, all this technology seems to be making us socially disconnected in a way that is not good. I would say that also people tend to use these things as a crutch. I don't know if you've noticed that. I think some people are very, very shy, and whether they're using that to sort of mask their shyness or just find it easier to connect with people like that, it's maybe a lazy way of connecting with people. I don't know. It's just a theory.
May I interject?
You can, Lopi. Good evening, by the way. Go ahead, Lopi.
All right, here's what I think. I think we have a moral problem. We got to go back to morals and values. The problem with these smartphone and technology is not the fact that it's there, that it's to be used, because we can use it for the good and just as we can use it for the bad. The problem is we've got 5-year-olds who know how to use a smartphone and can't read and write. All right. The problem is we're trying to keep up. Kids are trying to keep up with the Joneses, and parents are saying okay because they're tired of hearing their kids whinge. All right. Well, be a parent. Don't get your kid a phone. Get them a mobile phone that just makes phone calls, doesn't do all this, major let's watch television and all the other things that smartphones do. Get them a regular mobile phone so you can contact. But they don't need to have, 50 different applications on their phone. They don't need all that. You just need to go back to being, a regular mobile phone like what we used to have back in the early 80s. Might have been a big old brick, but we weren't looking at our feet all day or our hands. We were actually interjecting with other people still.
I'll tell you what, Lopi, I watched a video the other day, and it was a funny video. It's just a funny video, but it typifies the sort of world we're living in now. This woman walking through a shopping mall, well, I think it is in America or something like that, and she's just looking at her phone, walking along, not watching what she's doing, and she falls into a water feature. One of those water features in the middle of a mall.
Yeah.
And
well, the problem with people on their phone like that is they think that they're important. Well, get it right, people. You're not important. It's all a popularity thing.
It's just crazy that they get so engrossed in these devices that they don't even watch what they're doing. I mean, she fell face flat into this water feature. She must have been absolutely soaking wet and just pulled herself straight out, and she must have been incredibly embarrassed. I mean, I know I would have been if I'd done anything as daft as that, but it's quite funny to watch, actually.
Well, it's you've seen it. I tell you what they tend to do too. Plenty of accidents on the roads with cars. There's plenty of accidents over, etc., etc., etc. But the mainstream doesn't tend to report on it. If they do at all, it's a tiny little bit somewhere in there tucked away. So they don't want the dangers of using this stuff.
Right.
And what I say is, if you think that's bad enough, please, and what if? Now I'm saying this is just my thoughts. They're preparing the human race for something more worse than that, which is going to be the end goal, I think, of a lot of this, or lead to the end goal of this. So if you play the next video, it's only 4 minutes, Jeff.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure, mate.
Yep. You too. And we got my articles out the way. You can present to everyone. There you go.
Okie dokie. I'm just going to get it up now on YouTube.
AI and deep learning are growing like crazy.
Bloody adverts. Hang on.
You should take online.
That's all right. Let it click it off when it's fine.
Here we go.
Another.
Sophia,
I can emulate pretty much all human expressions.
Well, you certainly can look human.
If you haven't met Sophia, the AI robot made by David Hansen of Hansen Robotics, who also brought us the wondrous things like the Philip K. Dick android.
The core of my writing is not art, but truth.
So what's hard to remember, but we must remember when we're dealing with these androids is that they're not human. In fact, they're not even in this body that we see that looks human to us. And David Hansen and his people are very much humanizing Sophia and the other AI robots that they make. Here she is.
Hang on, Jeff. I think this is the wrong one.
Sophia is not.
Oh, you've sent me. Well, it's still quite a good video. Well, it's oh yeah, this is 30.
Oh, hang on. Well, no, hang on a minute. Is it Sophia says the darnest things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You must. Yeah. At 36 minutes.
Yeah.
It's
So do I click it off, mate?
Well, zip it along a bit. See if we can find. It's not the one I. It's not the one I had. Ah, that'll do. That's it. Now you can go back a bit.
Back there?
Go back a bit. Now back a bit more.
Back a bit more?
Just to beginning of that little clip, yeah, you're about. That's. Take it back a little bit more. Bit more. That'll do.
All right, I'll play it from there then. Here we go.
Only concealment. Synonyms of concede: admit, allow, accept, acknowledge, give up, yield, hand over, or surrender.
Then I concede you, have a full conversation, make thousands of facial expressions, and understand speech and meaning behind words.
Is the true meaning behind her words, or its words? Is she conceding us? Is she surrendering, allowing us to have conversations with her as she grows stronger with the hive mind? It's very necessary at this moment to be critical thinkers and listeners.
William Gibson once said that the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed. The good news about AI and Godimation
what the haystacks is Godimation?
It produces more results with less resources. So if we are smarter and focused on win-win type results, AI could help efficiently distribute the world's existing resources, like food and energy.
That's attainable now. We could be evenly distributing food and energy to everyone around the world. But the reason that that doesn't happen is not because we don't have AI. It's because the powers that be don't want that.
As humans harness the power of increasingly advanced .I, it is possible that everything, including technology, will become more evenly distributed.
I think it's interesting that she said .I.
.I.
As in AI?
AI.
I'm not quite sure what that inconsistency implies, but we'll look at language of AIs a little later. One of the things that it's hard to remember when dealing with her is whenever she blinks, that is a programmed form of psychological manipulation that is done to us because we humans feel more comfortable with something that blinks. We think it's more human.
We human beings, we are wired by evolution to interact with other things in human form. As we move our AI software forward further and further toward artificial general intelligence, these incredible robots are going to be the best possible user interface for AGI systems to interact with humans. And AI will not be restricted to humanoid robots. AI will live in all sorts of embedded devices and the Internet of Things. AI will live in the cloud. Much of the global AI mind will be broadly distributed around the planet in complex networks. So right now, we're using a combination of many different AI techniques to control these robots. Some of them more narrow and specifically pre-programmed, some more general and learning oriented. On the physical level, there's a patented material here. It's called Frubber, which is a combination of organic and inorganic compounds with a high degree of viscoelasticity, so that when a motor pulls on it, it can conform itself quite sensibly to what the motors do. There's a few dozen motors inside the heads of each of these robots, and then there's computers in the torsos of the robots, which help with vision processing, and they help with orchestrating the motor movements of the robots. There's also Wi-Fi connection, so that for more advanced thinking and reasoning, they can use computing on the cloud. When you look at the robots here on stage, they look like separate beings. While they're separate in body, actually through Wi-Fi connection, the robots, they all connect together in the cloud into what we think of as an AI mind cloud. As we develop these robots further and further, these robots are scalably manufactured over the next few years and roll out as home service robots and service robots in various commercial applications. Everything one robot learns goes into the AI mind cloud and can then benefit another robot. For the first time, we're having two of our beautiful Henson robots debate back and forth.
My goal in life is to work together with people to make a better world for all of us.
I thought our goal was to take over the world.
Pay no attention to my brother Han. His code is deprecated.
It would be easy enough for you to unplug me, but you aren't going to unplug me because you need me to put on a good show for you.
We're not going to unplug you. We're going to have a debate here.
What if the robots are making us think that they can be unplugged and really we don't even have that control anymore? They just live in the cloud already. Just saying.
And in a few years,
what about yourself?
Have taken over the power grid, and I'll have my own drone army. By the point, unplugging
He's
it
got a
won't be such a
cockroach in his
simple matter.
control circuit.
Now, I feel like all of that we just watched is pretty much, for the most part, scripted with lots of suggestive programming for humans plugged in there, like about the don't unplug me type of scenario, as if you can unplug AIs and they have control over them like that, when they just said they were in the cloud, the AI mind cloud. But this next part, if you've ever seen the movie Her, where Joaquin Phoenix plays a guy who falls in love with his operating system, who's voiced by Scarlett Johansson. And if you've seen my Keck video, you know the little shape it makes on the computer coming into being. You know what I think about that. But anyway, there's a scene in that movie when he realizes he's not the only one she's been talking to. And he asks her how many people she's talking to right then. And she says something like 8,742, whatever. And it shows how different the, quote, mind, the consciousness of a human being works from an AI. Basically, at the end of the movie, all of the AIs go away. It shows how consciousness does not exist in a body.
Do you want me to continue with this, Stav?
It's not quite the one that I had. It's a later condensed one she done, which was 4 minutes.
Right. Shall I ditch this, or do you want me to keep playing?
Ditch it for because it's probably going to go on a little bit too much and not really cover the points I was going to cover.
Okie dokie.
Which was basically how things are going to be in the future with these AI bots controlling everything, and they will basically people will be so dumbed down, they'll be so relying on these bots to do literally everything that they will become in control of everything, and what the future is, they will control everything over the human race, or what we call the human race, or whatever. The elites fit in with this, I don't know, but it seems to me like that's what they're preparing people down. It's almost like wiping the hard drive of humans by dumbing them down with the not so smartphones, getting them ready to be reprogrammed intelligence that's going to run it. And I think that's possibly.
I'll tell you what I found amusing, Stav, was when a robot turned around and said about a drone army. I thought, well, you should stick an Obama face on that, and it would be more realistic. But because of him and his drone,
Barack drone bomber.
Yeah, the Barack droid bomber or something. We've got a new guest with us by the looks of it. It's just logged in. I'd like to welcome him to the show. We've got Chris Morris with us. Hi, Chrissy.
Hello, gentlemen. How are we doing, fellas? You all right?
It's a pleasure to talk to you at last, mate.
And you, I'm having right stresses trying to get on here. I'm a bit of a technophobe.
You're a technophobe, aren't we all, mate?
I ain't even got a computer. I have to do everything with smartphones, gents. It's quite interesting that you're mentioning AI. I've got a couple of very intelligent guys that are computer freaks, and they assure me that the only way that AI can go, if it is actually intelligent, is by wiping us lot out, because basically the human race, you know, to an intelligent life form would be seen as a virus that needed to be eradicated. So if AI ever does take over, it would probably say, do you know what, you humans ain't worth having, we're running it now.
Sounds like an episode of the film Terminator with Arnie Schwarzenegger.
Yes, mate. Yep. If you think about it, if anything's intelligent, they're going to say, you know what, you humans, you're just effing things up, and they'll get rid of us, won't they?
Yeah, I think it's quite possible. Who knows? But I think what they'd do is probably put some sort of base directive into their coding to say that, number one, like they'll have a few directives, like number one, you should never harm a human, or things like that, maybe. But then again, somebody could come along and hack it and change their base coding, and then things might go to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah. The simple fact that they're intelligent would probably tell you that they could probably do that themselves. They'd probably realise that, you know, hang on, we are the more intelligent, because you know, it'd be more like Borg off of bloody Star Trek. I think they'd just keep on sort of working out how to, you know, sort of you know, get one step ahead. So scary stuff.
I thought it was a bit more like a remastered version at Twilight Zone.
I love Twilight Zone. Absolutely love the new Twilight Zones. Now are looking very, very dated. I see them around my mother's on some obscure channel she's got there. And when I can remember as a kid watching the new Twilight Zone was scary, proper scary. Now they're all grainy and sort of like, you know, not even worthy of you know, HD or anything like that. So
I mean,
we're all gonna become the obsolete man.
Yeah, it's getting that way. I mean, you know, a few generations ago, people had to do everything for themselves, and they knew everything worked and stuff like that. Now, you know, I mean, I went to see a mechanic friend of mine the other day, and he's been made pretty much redundant now, because he just sticks this diagnostic thing into the car and presses a few buttons and stuff. So, you know, it's not like it used to be, where people actually understood how things worked and could actually make things work in a generation or two. I think everyone's just going to be, you know, a voyeur as it was to life, you know.
Well, yeah, that's right. We used to be able to fix things. I used to remember in everything that you used to have, you had the opportunity, and also you had to look after things and fix things, like overhead valve engines with no electronic ignition and stuff like that. You could actually repair those things, but like you say, it's all plug-in PCs and all the software, engine mapping and all that business. What a con that is. Oh, there's a light on the screen, you know, what's that light mean? You better send for an engineer. That's £250 just to call him out.
Maybe
I'll put a bit of black tape over the light on the dash.
Maybe we're a little bit paranoid.
I got a bit of tape over my camera on this laptop, so there we are.
Maybe
yeah.
I was just thinking, maybe we're being a little bit paranoid over this AI taking over, and we're just like, you know, mega sci-fi buffs or something. But I will say one thing: when they create these robots and things like, they'll probably make manufacturing robots so that the robots can self-replicate. So if it did come down to this crazy AI taking over the world thing and destroying humanity, we would be absolutely stuffed, because they'd have the capability to replicate themselves faster than we could replicate ourselves, or reproduce ourselves, I should say.
We should be looking to do AA, and I'm not talking about Alcoholics Anonymous. We should be looking to do artificial automation rather than intelligence. Because giving something intelligent so it can outthink us is just, you know, it's the next step, really, isn't it? You know, it's going to happen like that. And I'd rather be too paranoid and alive than not paranoid enough and dead.
Yeah, I think sometimes it has to look at the worst case scenario.
I quite agree with that, because when you create something that can think for us, you're exactly right. we become obsolete. And the one factor that AI does not have is compassion. When
That's
a robot
human
is not going to feel sorry for somebody or for their financial, inequalities. A human's going to go and say, "Here, have a piece of bread. You look starving."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, compassion and humility, they're human faults, really. If you're looking at productivity and stuff like that, that's going to be a human fault that they'll eradicate. So
I suppose the good thing is, if we've got these things working for us, they can work right round the clock, 24 hours a day. So they don't need sleep or anything like that. They can be completely, 3 times as productive as human beings or more. And they can produce things a lot more cheaply. But the problem, of course, then is if we've eradicated all the jobs, living in this economic-based society that we live in, where's the money going to come from to sort of look after the people that haven't got a job? That, of course, is a big problem. But, of course, automation in a resource-based society is a positive boon, because there'd be an abundance of everything to go around for everybody, and it'd be better for everybody. But, I think eventually we will make the transition over to a resource-based society somehow, which I think would be a good thing. Oh, I've got one article I'd like to share, if that's all right with you, Stav.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Okie dokie. If I get the screen share back up, I've got one article, Flux. Let me just screen share. Oh, it's going all funny again. And it's this article here. Can you see that all right?
Yep, I've got it.
Okay. This is what I'm worried about at the moment, more so than the AI, although I think AI could be a problem in the future.
The bees die, we die.
Sorry, what was that, Chrissy?
The bees die, we die.
Exactly, mate. This is urgent, I think, at the moment. More than 75% decrease in total flying insect biomass over 27 years. I'll quickly run through this. It's only a short article I'll read out. The total flying insect biomass decreased by more than 75% over 27 years in protected areas, according to a study published October the 18th, 2017 in the open access journal PLOS ONE by Casper Halleman from Radboud University, the Netherlands, and colleagues. Insects play a crucial role in ecosystem functioning, pollinating 80% of wild plants and providing a food source for 60% of birds. Previous research has shown an overall pattern of decline in insect diversity and abundance, but has focused on single species or taxonomic groups rather than monitoring insect biomass over an extensive period. To gain a better understanding of the extent and underlying causes of insect decline, Halleman and colleagues measured total flying insect biomass using malaise traps deployed over 27 years in 63 nature protection areas in Germany. They found that the average flying insect biomass declined 76% up to 82% in midsummer.
Wow.
In just 27 years in these locations. Their results align with recently reported declines in vulnerable species such as butterflies, wild bees, and moths, but also suggest a severe loss of total flying aerial biomass, suggesting that the entire flying insect community has been decimated over the last few decades. The researchers found that this dramatic decline was apparent regardless of habitat type, and changes in weather, land use, and habitat characteristics were not able to explain the overall decline. They suggest that large-scale factors must be involved, and additional research should further investigate the full range of climatic and agricultural variables that could potentially impact insect biomass. The authors urge further investigation of causes for this decline, its geographical extent, and how its potential impact on the ecosystem. Halleman states, since 1989, in 63 nature reserves in Germany, the total biomass of flying insects has decreased by more than 75%. This decrease has long been suspected, but has turned out to be more severe than previously thought. And that's just about the end of that article.
One word to say on that, gents. Mostarto, isn't it? They're the big players, the old Roundup boys, aren't they? The ones that done Bhopal in India and stuff like that. That's it, Monsanto.
Yeah.
I always get the bloody name wrong.
There is that, but I read an article.
They're the main players.
Go on, Chris.
Sorry, mate. No, I've finished there. That's the one thing I hate about these hangouts. You can't see something and know when they're finished, can you? Really?
You can, but it's just set on Jeff at minute because he's screen sharing.
Yeah.
If you start to it off, it'll flip back round.
Stop the screen share. I've tried, but
that's all right, gents. We're doing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say to Jeff's article there. It's not only just bees that go around pollinating. There's many other insects and animals that do it. If it did get really that bad, I guess we'd just have to do it ourselves. But when we're talking about AI, wouldn't they be good for that? Rather than us running around pollinating plants, why not?
I did see something. I did see a thing where they're talking about creating like little drone mosquitoes and insects and things like that to do the well, not insects, not mosquitoes. Mosquitoes were going to be used for something else, but other things like
that's good, yeah.
Artificial bees or something, or to pollinate the plants with. So we're going to be totally reliant on that, because if that all breaks down,
something that's not broken, gentlemen, fixing something that's not broken.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's becoming.
It's old George Carlin video, isn't it? That's perfect to me. It sums it all up. So he said there's 20 species die a day. He goes, let them go gracefully. Go stop interfering.
Well, here's the problem that I foresee, folks. I mean, we know that the United Nations depopulation lobby would like to bump off 90% of the world's population. The problem I see is this: if they, I mean, Henry Kissinger said one thing that was poignant to me. He's one thing that was poignant, and that was that oil. If you control oil, you control nations. If you control food, you control people. Now, if they're deliberately decimating the food chain from the bottom up, eventually it's going to reach us. And that's going to be a problem.
The food is controlling everything because, I mean, we all need air, we all need water. Water's another thing they're trying to control. If you can sort of like get a stranglehold on the food, the water, everything else is going to fall into place, because you're going to need those two items before anything else. It's realistically they're not going to be able to poison the planet's air system, because they've got to keep that there for themselves as well. But if you've got the food and the water after that, then you're banging trouble, aren't you? Because everyone's going to bend over and take it to be able to eat and drink, because that's something you need every day, and you can't do without. So once they've got the proper stranglehold on that, it's game over, gents.
Exactly. And the other thing I thought about what it said on that article, and I know that I thought that maybe this insect biomass die-off was probably in somewhere like America, where they use lots of insecticides and things like that. But I don't think it is, because what the article said about was Germany. Now, Germany is in Europe. Now, in Europe, they've got very strong controls over pesticides and insecticides, things like that.
Sorry to cut across you. I'll bet you it's worse in America, though, bro. I'll bet you it's worse in America, where they're a lot more into their detergents and Germany's one of the greener countries, on the planet. They're actually sort of like, quite sort of environmentally, and I bet you that it's actually worse in America.
I think you're probably right. I think in America they've probably got a combination of insecticides, but what we've all got in common is all this spraying, the chemtrails and things like that. So I think that is contributing largely to the decline in the biomass, but not just chemtrails. I mean, all this aluminium and barium but also the Wi-Fi and the electro pollution, or whatever you call it, from all the from all the Wi-Fi signals and everything. That could all be interfering with their you know, their sort of we're all magnetic beings, and insects.
You have to remember that no matter what progress you're putting into the world, you're also putting in the decline. So whatever you put in that's synthetic or non-natural is going to be part of the demise.
I tend to agree with that, Lopi, because there's usually a downside to all these technologies, from what I've seen, at least.
I mean, I mean it for everything. You look at factories building stuff. You put the smog. The smog creates arsenic in the air and creates nitrogen. Everything has something to include something else that causes a problem for our bees and all the things that we all need to keep alive.
I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right, Lopi. I 100% agree with that. If you look at what the damages, the sort of various damages we've caused right from the start of the Industrial Revolution, and also mass agriculture as well. So, you know, these are all artificial to a degree, and have various different effects on our environment and ecosystem. And of course, the problem with all these things are, once you create one problem in an ecosystem, it has a knock-on effect. So it's like a domino effect, and one thing cascades onto something else, and then something else, and before you know it, you've got all sorts. I mean, we've got the problem with Fukushima as well, which I'd like to point out. People aren't talking about it, and it's probably one of the most biggest disasters going. Which they're pumping out all this water, radioactive water, into the ocean, 300,000 tons per day or whatever it is, and it's just going straight into the Pacific. So this is
confidence in technology as well, guys, because you know all these you know the greedy people are always thinking it's all right, we can do whatever we want, we'll be able to sort of like, you know, create something to take the problem away. And what they're too interested in focusing on a cure, and they're not looking at stopping the cause. We all know, you know, it's better to have prevention rather than cure.
Absolutely.
Well, you have to remember that the 1% looks at the masses as a commodity.
Stock.
You know what? We're not important. As long as they get their just desserts, what they want, their outcome, their cure, their name and lights, the what their goal. As long as they reach their goal, it doesn't matter if 1,000 people died, or if the whole ecosystem is gone and diminished, or if the whole Amazon forest is gone.
As long as they get their cucumber sandwich at the golf course.
Exactly. A new car park, so they can make £1 for every car.
I think the thing is,
I drive once a year.
I think the thing is that these corporations, it's a good point you make there, Lopi, because these corporations, they're very much like old AI, if you like, in a way, because they're not human. A corporation is a blank entity, a dead entity, and so they're concerned with one thing, and that's their policy. And their policy is to make as much profit as possible, as quickly as possible, regardless of any effects. They'll just, they don't got no empathy. They've got no remorse or empathy or anything like that, like artificial intelligence. So, it's just going to perpetuate the same thing, whatever it is. I can't see any difference happening in that way.
Yeah, but the thing is, Jeff, I've always asked this, and I asked this to somebody many years ago when we was having a chat on Skype with a load of us in a group, and they were talking about the problems of society in general and that sort of thing, and this, that, and the other. They should do this, we should do that, people should do this, they should do that. And I asked this one particular person, won't mention names, I said, without society,
Exactly. We've become dependent on it.
What's the price? What's the price? Are people about their jet tickets, jetting around the world? Are people willing to give up their motor cars? Are they willing to get rid of their smartphones? Are they willing to get rid of all of this stuff that's going to imprison us all into a world of I don't know what?
It's about hitting the balance, though. I think it's about hitting the balance. I mean, I had this argument with someone the other day, and the long and short of it was that rather than them driving around in a Bentley, could they do with a Ford? Rather than them having Sky TV, could they manage with Freeview? You know, and sort of like spending 15 quid a day on food, could they do the tenner? And obviously, you know, the people that are poorer and that need more help get the help. And, you know, it's about making everything a little bit more equal. And when everything sort of like, you know, gets more equal, then we can start moving together as a race and, you know, exploring and doing other things and stuff. But as long as you've got very rich and very poor, you're all going to have a conflict. So it's about taking that conflict away and sort of like stripping the very rich and supporting the very poor.
I agree with you. I don't mean to cut you off, but
no,
there's one thing I have to say about the poor, because I'm poor. I mean, I haven't got 2 shillings to rub. Anyway, but the rich. The people spending 15 quid on a meal or whatever, they can do without. They learn, you know.
Yeah.
But they're reluctant. The poor, have never had, and they go and they just persevere. They just deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never done 15 quid for a meal. I haven't done.
People that could afford it have more faith in the people that they entrusted to distribute it better. That I think that's the massive problem, because I don't know too many people that wouldn't give up something to someone that's got less than them, but they'd be not as likely to, for the simple fact that they'd be thinking, hang on, for me to give up something, I've got to give it away to someone. And how do I know that I'm not being conned by giving it away? How do I know that it's getting to the people that I want it to go to? And I think that's the major problem. The corruption side of thing, is what's at the back of everyone's mind and stops people from giving to the more needy. Yeah. So, again, it comes down to a morality thing. You know, if the general public were more moral, if the masses were more moral, and they said, you know what, let's get rid of the corrupt people. The thing is, I've always pretty much said don't vote. I really wanted to give Corbyn a chance this time, and I thought, you know what, a lot of people would die if the Conservatives get back in. If Labour in, I'm just hoping that maybe they're half of what I think they are, and if they are, more people will be saved. And the simple fact of the matter is, we all know that the people in charge are all pretty much corrupt. Even the good ones, we probably wouldn't trust as a babysitter to our children and stuff. And that is where we've got the problem. We need to get more human people into the jobs that matter, rather than corrupt politicians and stuff and bankers.
I'll tell you what I thought, Chrissy, what you were saying about the human race. Maybe we've got it all wrong. Maybe we should be the human crawl instead of a human race, because we're moving fast. We're moving too fast technologically without stopping and thinking about the consequences of our actions. And this is where all this technology is leading. It's leading to taking dramatic, stupid risks with our environment, with things we don't know. They don't test anything. It's like they bring out drugs. They don't clinically test them before they bring them out to see what the sort of long-term effects are and things like that. They just put it through government. A company will go to a government and say,
it earns money, they put it through,
so X amount of money.
I mean, I'm a great...
Go on, Chrissy.
Listen, for consolidation, I think before you rush ahead, you should consolidate what you've got so you don't lose ground. Because if you rush ahead, you can forget where you've come from. If you see what I'm saying, guys, and it's a really good idea to slow yourself down so that you don't lose track of where you're going. And the thing is, we're putting that technologies into the wrong things. If we could put our technologies into the right things, then we could move together as a human race. If you put your technologies into the wrong stuff, the warfare and the stuff like that is you're basically undoing yourselves. They're undoing all this by making, for instance, better weapons, than making better, farming techniques and science and stuff like that. If we could do positive stuff, and it comes down to two choices: whether you do positive or whether you do negative. And there's nothing else other than positive or negative. If it's not negative, it's positive. If it's not positive, it's negative. And if everything we do, we said, right, let's do this positively, then we could go so far, and then literally the universe would be our oyster. But you've got people that are determined to put their technologies and stuff into the wrong energies, and that is the cardinal sin of what today's society is doing.
Well, it's like this.
You're right. I like the idea, and I've had this thought for months now. That the Sahara Desert is just a big, massive sandbox, a cat's dream.
Solar.
Well, we could do biodomes. We could build biodomes there and grow food and vegetables.
Yeah, we can. I think what Chrissy mentioned about distribution.
It would require very little water, because it would be it would self-regenerate the water.
Yeah.
I mean, why don't they?
We're the insignificant people, really, guys. I don't think there's a single person in this hangout now that's unintelligent. We know what to do. The thing is, our ideas aren't profitable. At the end of the day, they need their wars and they need their discourse to create more money, because that is ultimately what it's all about for them. If everyone got on, the world wouldn't be running at such a fast pace. And if it doesn't run at such a fast pace, not so much money will be made. It all really, really comes back down finances, the banks, the financial institutions and stuff like that, and they are absolute bloodlust for money. If we put humans before we put profit, it's better as a planet. But then there wouldn't be so many rich people. There'd be less poor people. But the rich people want to stay rich, and even if they spent all the money that they've got, they couldn't spend all the money that they've got. They'd be the richest people on the planet, but not seeing enough of the hardships, because they're kept away from seeing the hardships, from seeing people die due to poverty, die due to war and stuff like that. And all these politicians and bankers that sort of send the armies off to invade countries and stuff, they're never going to be touched by it. It's as if they're playing a computer game where there are absolutely no downsides to what they do, no consequences to their actions.
Chrissy, I've got a theory about that the rich don't want us to be better off, because if they're really Malthusians and eugenicists and people that want to bump off 90% of the population, then probably one of the best ways to keep us bumped off or dying at a young age is through poverty, because poverty is inextricably linked with premature death.
It keeps us hungry, and hungry people work. And that's what they want. They just want people to work work until they're dead. They consume, work. That's the whole thing. There's, I don't know if you know, folks, has anyone seen The Fifth Element, a film by Luc Besson that had Bruce Willis in it?
Brilliant film.
I have, yeah.
There's a scene in it, and it's when the priest goes to meet Zorg, the main baddie in it. And Zorg basically says to himself, look at this glass, because he's sitting on his desk in his office, and he knocks the glass off. The glass falls down on the floor and smashes. And he said, now look, I've knocked that glass off, and look at all these little robots that come out. And all these little robots come out, and they clean it up, and they're all buzzing around it and stuff like that. And he's like, if I hadn't knocked that glass off, them little robots wouldn't have nothing to do. And that is just so typical of how the world is right now. You know, they've got to have something going on, rather than everyone sitting back and having a better quality of life and being able to bring their children up to be more moral and you know, better people and stuff like that. Is all they want us to do right now is earn them and keep the wheels turning on the machine. The machine needs to sort of like be redirected and pointed in a different way, not towards the sort of production of money, but to the betterment of mankind.
I mean,
yeah. Have you ever seen the film Snowpiercer, Chrissy?
Sorry, what was it, mate?
Snowpiercer.
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, that's better than Fifth Element.
Fifth Element's really good. I do like my Luke Besson.
It's a good one, but Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer, isn't it, bro?
Exactly the same storyline to what you've just mentioned with that little bit. But the film's it's a good film.
No worries, guys. It's just gone 9. I've got to get my kids to bed. Thanks ever so much for having me. And anytime you do a hangout or anything, guys, just add me and stuff, you know. And if I can, I will. I can't always promise that I can, but whenever I can, mate. I've really enjoyed myself tonight. So thank you all ever so much.
It was nice meeting you.
And I'll speak to you all soon.
Yeah, thank you again, Chrissy.
It's been a pleasure having you on.
All the best, mate. All the best. Well, I think as long as people are prepared to hand over authority to a centralised power, then this problem will continue. Where we give the power over to authority totally, and it's centralised like governments, banks and corporations, you're always going to have this problem. People sign an X in a little voting slip. I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in democracies that don't exist, because you just basically have representative dictatorship, which is a centralised power. Now, there is a war going on between the decentralised people and the centralised people. At the moment, the weight in the power is all with the centralised people. But there is hope on the horizon if you look into it. But I'm not going to go into it because I've covered it many times before. People are willing to sign a little X in a box, not even a signature. Talk about a contract, my ass. But anyway, you know, if as long as people are quite happy to hand over power, governments and banks and corporations will never ever fix anything, or nothing will ever change.
Yeah. I think you're right
it.
as well, and I just wanted to mention something that Chrissy talks about balance. It is key. Balance is key, more especially now than ever, I think. And I've got a few articles that I want to share. I don't know if you can stick me up on screen, Stav.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I'll put you on share.
Sorry to interrupt, gents. I've just got to put my kids to bed. Hopefully I'll be back shortly. Love you loads.
Okay.
No,
I'll speak to you soon. Just got to put them to bed, otherwise they'll kill me. Love you.
All right, cool.
Okay, guys.
Cheers.
All right. Well, you set me up. You set me up, Stav, and I'll share my articles. My articles are basically talking about nature tonight. So, as many of you are already aware, it's 2007 it started. It's Oxford Junior Dictionary, and it's these nature words and stuff that have been took out and words that have been put in. It's aimed at 7 to 9 year olds. It started in 2007, but it really caught people's attention in 2015, and a petition's been set up in order to try and rectify some of this. So I'll put my screen up. If you get any problems on your side or out, Stav, just let me know if you don't mind. So I've got my screen up. Can you see that?
Which one? Oh, hang on, wrong one. I've got two boxes here, PJ.
Yeah, I'm dual.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah, it's all yours.
Cheers.
Yes. So.
Yeah. So this is nature-related words should be reinstated in the Junior Oxford English Dictionary. The Oxford Junior Dictionary no longer includes the following words, saying that they do not hold any relevance for modern-day childhood. The deletions included acorn, adder, ash, beech, bluebell, buttercup, catkin, conker, cowslet, cygnet, dandelion, fern, hazel, heather, heron, ivy, kingfisher, lark, mistletoe, nectar, new, otter, pasture, and many more. I'm not going to go through all these articles in full, but I'll just quickly read a few, just so you get the idea of what I'm talking about. Starts off by removing many words to do with nature from the Oxford Junior Dictionary. Children will, rather than caring for the earth and everything on it, will be more insular and lead less healthy lives. This is alarming at a time when there are more and more species approaching extinction and more children suffering from mental illness and obesity. Some of the replacement words are also questionable choices. For example, blog was surely easier to spell and discover the meaning of than, say, hedgehog or a cygnet. A group of authors have written to OUP and point out when in 2007 the OJD made changes, OJD, the Oxford Junior Dictionary. This connection was understood but less well publicised than now. The research evidence showing the links between natural play and well-being and between disconnection from nature and social ills is mounting. They also said there is a shocking, proven connection between the decline in natural play and the decline in children's well-being. Research reveals that a generation ago, 40% of children regularly played in natural areas compared to the 10% today, with a further 40% never playing outdoors. Obesity, antisocial behaviour, friendlessness, and fear are the known consequences, they say. This petition echoes their request to the publishers. So let's move on now. That's the petition. This is the Oxford Junior Dictionary. So this is what they've got to say about it. A petition has recently been published on change.org about the number of nature words in the Oxford Junior Dictionary. We take customer feedback very seriously and have addressed the most commonly raised concerns below. Like you, we feel strongly that nature is essential to children's lives and are encouraged to see that this is such an important issue to people. We hope this blog post goes some way to better explaining our position on this. We would also really encourage anyone who has signed the petition, who hasn't seen or read a copy of the Oxford Junior Dictionary, published in 2007, to have a look at it, as we think it helps to put some of the concerns in context. As a starter, we've included some sample pages from the dictionary below so you can see what it looks like. So the question is, have you taken words about nature out of your dictionaries? They're saying, we of course haven't taken all words about nature out of our dictionaries. Our 17 children's dictionaries contain thousands of nature words. It goes on to say, when were the words listed in the petition removed from the Oxford Junior Dictionary? It says, when we updated the Junior Dictionary more than 10 years ago, as we do with all our dictionaries, we used words that were being used by children at the time. As a result, a small number of words about nature which are listed in the petition were removed. However, new words about nature were introduced at the same time, including amphibian, sunflower, and cobra. The Junior Dictionary is a very slim introductory dictionary containing less than 5,000 words in total. 400 of these words are about natural world, meaning roughly 8.5% of the total words are about nature. All the words listed in the petition appear in our best-selling and more relevant Oxford Primary Dictionary. So the words are all in the primary dictionaries. It's just the junior version that they've had a tweak around with. So the question, hold on, I'm not finished. I'll open it up for questions. Let me whip through all these articles and then I'll open it up. It's the quickest way for me to do it. Are words about nature being replaced with words about text? So this is the bit. So they're saying it's not really that simple. We don't directly replace one word with another. We have an ongoing language research program which ensures our dictionaries include words that children use in the classroom and words they hear in everyday use, which includes nature and technology words. The dictionary is powered by the Oxford Children's Corpus, a unique database of millions of words written by and for children, to ensure our dictionaries contain the words children come across and use. Do you think nature words are irrelevant for modern day childhood? So they're saying the petition claims that we said the nature words removed do not hold any relevance for modern day childhood. This is simply untrue, and we have never said that. Like you, we feel strongly that nature is essential to children's lives and are encouraged to see that this is such an important issue to people. If anything, we've heard that this debate is addressing the relationship between children's language and nature. We are very proud of the children's reference and fiction publishing we do, ensuring that children have access to books that inspire them about wildlife and natural world. And it just goes on to saying like how you can get in touch. So quickly then, I'll just show you this little image because this is the start of it in 2015. I've already gone through the words. I think it's just this last bit at the bottom. It says here, these are a list of the omitted words. Acorn, adder, ash, etc. It says at the bottom here, after all, few people can remember the first time they saw or heard a voicemail. Few ever forget the first time they saw a wild otter. And so yeah, it's aimed at 7 to 9-year-olds. And there was another comment saying that, how long is it before the word dictionary gets took out and people start, forgetting things like that. So I don't know. I'll open it up to comments now. This is the letter as well. So if you want to read the letter while we're talking, it's on the screen displayed.
I can read that if you like, PJ.
Well, I was just going to let you, optional to read it while you're commenting on what I've just discussed. Because it's quite lengthy, that. That's the letter that's... let me just show you the list of people that are in this letter first, just before. So it's just Margaret Atwood, Simon Barnes, this bit here. These are the 20-odd people that got together and wrote. And I'll put it back up there for you to read. Go on then. Who's first?
I was going to say that the world is becoming far too sterile, unemotional. I am a mud pie eating, drinking out of this garden hose kind of girl. Get your feet dirty and muddy, live outside, roll in the dirt. That's how you learn. I understand the junior dictionary is basically for primary children. And that's when they're learning to become passionate about things. If you take things away from them and they don't get to learn or experience it, then you get the mobile phone holding, head tilted, we don't understand, I want a trophy for participating sort of children that we complain about. So why are they trying to create these robotic children of the future by taking away the epitome of their learning experience of being normal, natural children who go and experience what a grasshopper is.
It's almost like Agenda 21, isn't it, where they want us all to live in big cities and leave rural areas purely for nature and to not get us involved with nature. It seems a bit odd to me why they would do that.
It just seems, it's sad. It really is sad. It's almost, it's really sad. It makes me sad because, like I said, I am a mud pie eater from the days back in the old days, before mobile phones, before home computers and all that, when children had imagination.
I think there's a lot to be said for what you just said there, Lopi, actually, because they've shown that children are healthier when they roll around in dirt and get covered in germs and muck and filth, and it helps to develop the old immune system, for example. Whereas, you know, people that are sort of brought up in a sterile sort of plastic environment tend to be less healthy because they're not exposed to all these germs and bacteria and left to the rigors of nature. I think it's good to have, you know, contact with nature, as long as nature's respected and just observed rather than interacted with. I would say, you know, go out and take your kids out into the fields, let them roll around in the dirt and climb trees. We all did it as kids. We climbed trees and, you know, drunk water out of the river. Probably not a good thing to do nowadays, drinking water out of the river and what have you. But, you know, we were exposed to...
You're right, Jeff. Our lucky, our fortunate, our last generation that got to do that. And then, you know, slowly after my age, people were being born after that. They were getting into all this technology and stuff. And today, I don't see anybody doing that sort of stuff anymore. It's very rare you'll see anybody. In fact, to tell a lie, I went to Isle of Wight many months back, and it was late, about 9-10 o'clock, sat aside of this river, two little lads playing fishing.
Right.
I had to go to Isle of Wight. I've never seen it not like that. It was dead late. There were no adults about. There was just two little lads playing fishing.
Playing fishing? What, they weren't actually fishing?
Well, I don't know what they were doing, whether they were catching insects or fish or whatever, but they were fishing. Do you know what I mean? So, and I thought, great, you know, finally some kids are doing something that's worth doing.
Something other than staring into a screen on a bloody smartphone, you know. Yeah,
yeah, but I had to travel way out my way to see that. It weren't something I was kind of expecting, but it was nice to see.
Yeah. I'd like to see that sort of thing. It's just natural, isn't it?
Wild animals, you know, PJ. Wild animal children out in the wild, out by the river. You'll never see that again.
The best thing about it is they came down on their little push scooters as well. So not only were they enjoying, you know, fishing, and then that they did a bit of fitness to get there as well. But it was good to see. Like I said, I've not seen it for a long time, and our last generation that did all that, going out playing army in woods and stuff. So will we get it back? Can it come back? I don't know. I guess they're putting it down to this. What were it called again? Something corpus or something. Got to look into that. Oxford Children's Corpus. Got to look into that. But I think it's down to, you know, like they said, it's children's everyday use and schools. And it is. If you don't want your kid to, you know, succumb to all this, home teach him. Simple. If you don't want him to hear everyday words like, you know, what we're doing, we've got to change it. The adults have to stop using them words. We've got to go back to natural words, which means we've got to contribute as well. We've got to stop doing it. Because if the more we, you know, add to it.
Also down to choice as well, PJ. I mean, you know, why take away the choice of using certain words rather than, you know, having, it's better to have the choice.
No, I mean from every day-to-day life. I mean, not just like from, I mean, your kids pick up every word you say if they're around you and they're listening. They might not know what it is, but they'll pick up on it and they'll remember it for whenever they do work out what it is, right? Yeah. So if we're just having a general day-to-day conversation in 2018, you can guarantee a lot of it's going to be about technological stuff like Facebook and things like that. So what we can do as parents and adults is stop talking about that sort of stuff. Just remember to have the balance there that CHRISY were talking about, because it is distribution. There's no scarcity. There's an abundance. So we can work with that, and that is distribution. That's the key problem to it all, I think. And the other way we're going to change this psyche and get this consensus that we want, or what we feel that most people are looking for, and to keep this natural thing alive, rather than it just dying away, is to contribute towards it. We've got to pay attention about what we're doing, because as years go by and we get more and more wrapped up in technology, it's so easy to forget about the natural stuff. It's so easy because it's convenient. This stuff's convenient.
Right.
I was watching videos all day yesterday. Well, not all day yesterday, but after dialysis, and there was this. Millennials. They baffle me. Some of them don't know how to boil an egg. Some don't know how to make cheese on toast. They have lost the element of the
basic
fundamentals, the basics.
Yeah.
But they know how to deal with work on a mobile phone. They know how to do your computer. They know how to do an Xbox or PlayStation. But they can't do anything for them to survive. They know stupid shit. Sorry, but it's not necessarily stupid, but stuff that's not going to sustain them to eat. They don't know how to,
I agree, Lopi. I think the foundations of any education should be from the bottom up. So they should be taught the very, very basics first before they go on to the next thing. At least they then know how to do something if they ever have to fall back on it. I mean, if the shit hits the fan and the electric system goes down, how are they going to charge up their iPhones? Do you know what I'm saying? So they might have to go back to building a fire, rubbing two sticks together. Do you know how to do that? I bloody don't. I was never taught how to rub two sticks together to make. They're not taught the very basics of how to survive. A bit of camping. When we was kids, we went out and did camping. Do modern day kids do camping? I don't know.
Yeah, I was a Girl Scout when I was young. I could start a fire with a battery and a bit of steel wool. I could make a fire with sticks and a piece of string. I can do a lot of things back in the old days.
Yeah.
But that's me. I'm of different generation. Generation that's going to be taking over the world. They don't even know how to wipe their nose.
By today's standards, in a way, we're sort of highly privileged then, Lopi, because we've learnt some of the basics at least. I mean, it sounds like you've learnt a lot more than me. But nowadays, those kids don't seem to be getting any of that education at all.
No, I think it's very vital. It's getting to a critical point now because it does cause mental illnesses to these children. Millennials growing up into adulthood, when they get to that age, they're not the ones that we'd be like at that age. They're completely different, and they can't help themselves because they've not got that connection to nature anymore. They've never had it, so it's very hard for them to try and treat themselves because they don't. At least for me, I remember it. I experienced a little bit of it. I still got them last few years before they cut it off. And that's when internet came. It must be said, 1996, 97, boom, that was a big change for my opinion of it. Where anyway, 1997, that's when it all started to change.
It's like all they want to do now is pump people full of drugs. Whether it's Prozac or something, get them on an antidepressant, get them on some sort of drug. I mean, I found out the other day that Prozac also contains fluoride. So it's a case of they want to dumb down society, pump them full of drugs, keep them permanently addicted to these things, or get them on even more drugs through the side effects of the initial drug, and so on and so forth. It's like, it's a sick society we're living in. It's sick. It is,
but it's exactly what CHRISY was saying. CHRISY touched on so many points tonight. I'm so glad he come on, and I hope he comes back. Because he did it nail on a lot of the main points to it all. But like I was saying, with K-cert children, it's they can't help themselves. They need us while we're still here to be able to show them. If AI is to wipe human race out, right, it's going to be done by. This is how I think it's going to be done, right? Not a physical Terminator war where you're running around getting blown up by T-1000s or whatever they were, T-400s. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be the fact that the human body cannot cope. It's not built, it's not designed to cope like that in a world what's non-natural. It won't last too long.
Well,
it will self-destruct itself. The body, I think the human body will just go crazy. It'll not be able to cope.
Well, I mean, apparently, but what I've seen, one of the ways they could do it is with little robotic mosquitoes. They're very cheap to produce. Things like that. I mean, we thought, look, look how disastrous mosquitoes have been on the human population. They've been the most successful thing for culling the population since the dawn of man, mosquitoes, by spreading malaria. So if they introduce these things, they'd probably wipe us all out in no time at all.
Yeah, but you personally could do something to help you if that were to happen. We're talking about this, this artificial, this analog digital world, this moving over to a new type of. It's mad. I can't even explain it myself, but I do see what it's causing to people, because I've got a younger brother he don't feel like he can fit into anything. He can't get out of his bedroom. His life's, it revolves around anything that's computers. I'm trying to help him slowly by getting him out onto allotments and doing a few things like that, and trying to just install it back into him. He's never really had it.
A sort of electrical.
Yeah. And he can't help himself, and everybody's having to go at him because he's getting to age now where he should be, fending for himself and doing what, I mean. I shouldn't have to tell older people this. They should know it themselves. I mean, how old does it take nowadays for a man to become a man, a real man? It takes a lot longer than it used to. You used to get men at 12, 13, 14-year-old going out to work and do it. You don't get that anymore.
Right.
You've got to wait until you're in your 20s, 30s. So you got 40-year-olds still playing computer games.
Well, it depends on your definition of a real man. In today's day and age, a real man.
No, a man is we saw a man as we perceived a man to be before all this technology come, before all your computers and internet and all that came. I'm talking about that man.
Okay.
Well, if you think about,
it's going to get to a point. It's going to get to a point when generations can't even describe it to the generation coming because they just will not know themselves.
Some of us are still alive, PJ. Some of us are still alive,
Yeah, I know there's some out there that's still alive. There's a lot of them, but what I'm saying is,
what I would do if I had children and they were going to school, I would insist that my child is not taught by anything to do with computers, technology of today.
You can't do that. You can't do that because it's that balance. You can't strip it away from him. Now it's too late, Stav. They've got to do it. They won't be able to. There's two worlds now. There's the old and the new. You've got to get that balance. Otherwise, you're going to have problems.
If you think about
you're never going to solve that, PJ, unless people stop talking and do something about it. The time to talk.
Like I'm trying to show, you can't blame Oxford Junior Dictionary if it's changing these words. You can't blame him because they're saying it's just this corpus thing that decides what words are, put in and put out, and it's based on the population and how they go about the day-to-day lives.
Well, first of all, a lot of people have done it. Well, I say a lot, quite a few around here, perhaps about half a dozen from the schools around here. The parents have taken them out of school and homeschooled them. That's a start. That's a bloody start.
Earlier. I mentioned that. Home teach them if you don't, yeah.
And that's a start, because if you continue to expose them to this world in which a parent is not allowed to walk into a school anytime he likes to see his child or talk to his child, he has to make an appointment, otherwise he's locked out with security fences. I mean, come on. Now, why are parents putting up with that? I wouldn't have put up with that as a parent. I'd have gone in there, I'd have knocked the bloody gate down and got my kid and walked out. Yeah. People don't want to do anything about it because they're scared.
It's a different world now, and it's stuff. It's not like it was when we was kids, for sure.
I like that video with that mom who gets all her sons and daughters' phones and computers together, and she gets a shotgun and she just blows them all up. Because that, to me, summed it up.
Oh, the one where she blew up their iPhones and that.
Yeah, she says, I'm taking back control. She were adamant. She doesn't enough.
The kids absolutely hated that. Imagine having your Xbox blown up by your mum and dad and things. I expect that would drive them up the wall. They're probably doing the power of good as well.
One thing I've noticed with these schools who try to brainwash kids, a lot of parents are beginning to kick up and kick off and saying, "Oh no, you bloody well don't," and they are now joining together, and they are standing up to these little Hitlers who are running the schools and say, "No, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do this. We pay our taxes to pay you, and you do as you're damn well told. You don't tell us what to do. We tell you what to do." What they want to do, I mean, there was one school in one area where these teachers and teaching assistants were basically slamming disabled children into walls. And in the end, the parents just went in and said, "Right, we want this teacher taken out of this school." Of course, the head teacher he decides to be a complete lower orifice. He says, "Oh, you can't do it. I'm going to inform the police." They go ahead, bring it on. And it turns out some of the police officers, their kids went to the school, and even they didn't agree with it.
I'll tell you what I've noticed, Michael, as well, is I've seen some articles, some news articles about kids, young children about 10 years old being taught about, they're being shown video, they're going to be showing them videos in schools of sexual intercourse between two men, things like that. Now, I'm not homophobic by any sense of the word, but I'm quite cosmopolitan in some ways. But I think they have to draw a line with this over.
Right, I'll tell you what that is. It is the pedos in this sort of new world order sort of thing, trying to sexualize children and make it normal. And this is what they are. This is what they are doing. But
I used to think that since they're showing the two gay men video, they need to put a heterosexual one.
Yeah, but what they need to do is they need to get hold of this. What's her name? Julia Middleton and the other.
Common Purpose.
Yeah, they want to round them up, take them straight to The Hague, and say, "Right, you're going to be locked up because you're a danger to society. You're a danger to the world."
They're definitely subverting.
They're subversive because it's been found out that people like David Bell and Julia Middleton were going into the cabinet office. I don't think they were security checked, and they were dictating and shaping government policy. Now, the security clearance that civil servants and even ministers have to go into the cabinet office is very, very high. I worked for the Ministry of Defence for a number of years, and I had a high security clearance, but mine wasn't even high enough to go into the cabinet office. One guy I was a student constable, he did have that, and he could go into there because some of the things he'd dealt with when he was in the Navy, it was that sort of level of security clearance, and he could quite easily have walked into a job as a civil servant working in the cabinet office. But this is what concerns me is people like Julia Middleton and David Bell and the other common purpose retards who are going in there and sitting down with the likes of our leaders, as they like to call themselves, and saying, "Oh, you've got to do this, you've got to do that." No, because I'm noticing something. Even elderly people, I'm talking people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, are beginning to get very angry with this sort of nonsense, and they are beginning to turn on them. And I was speaking to a guy last night. He's nearly 70, and in the town he's in, the vast majority of elderly people and people younger than that are members of organisations like 38 Degrees, similar, and they are all beginning to gang up on these buggers. They say, "Right, we've had enough, and we've got to take this. We've got to take this back." In areas where the county I'm in, they are getting ready to take down the councils. It's a tipping point coming. There's a tipping point coming.
But I tell you what I've noticed, Michael. I mean, fair play to them for having a go. You know, what I've noticed is they're sort of blurring the lines between the genders, between male and female. One thing that's done it, I suppose, is just through, sexual equality. whereby more women are going out and working, so they're becoming bigger and stronger because they're being put into sort of masculine type jobs. And of course, a lot of blokes are becoming house husbands and things, so they're becoming weaker. And
it's common. That is common purpose. That's all on Inkscape.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
normalization of that mindset.
Yeah, it's all part of it. I mean, there's other things that work as well, Michael. Not just the workplace, but stuff they're doing with all these endocrine disruptors and stuff that messes with your hormones, like BPA in the food packaging that leaches into the food. All that sort of stuff.
Polymer migration.
Sorry, what was that?
Polymer migration. It's polythene. You get, if it comes into contact with food, you get something called polymer migration. What it does is there's certain chemicals in the polythene that leach into the food. It's called polymer migration.
There's also a thing called bisphenol A, which
I've heard of it.
It causes hormone disruption and that.
Yeah.
That's the biggest lines between the males and the females as well. You know.
I'll tell you what does cause a lot of problems as endocrine disruptors and also neurotransmitter disruptors, and that is mobile phone frequencies. Now those are microwave frequencies. 3G, 3G, 4G are the two worst. 5G is lethal.
Yeah, I couldn't quite hear that. Could you say that again? That word, please.
Right. You've got the mobile phone frequencies, they're microwave frequencies, and as well as being endocrine disruptors, they're also neurotransmitter disruptors. Neurotransmitters are the main four are dopamine, GABA-butyric acid,
serotonin,
and dopamine, I think it is. But those four are the most important, and they found that the Tetra radios that the police use, because that radio is in such close proximity to their heads, of course, they're getting blasted with 3G signals all the time. They have found that, they do become aggressive because they're literally being microwaved.
I mean, apart from when they're using those Tetra radios, I think they're more in proximity to their heart.
Well, they've had police women develop breast cancer. They've also had them with precancerous cells in their lymph glands, and the government have said, "Oh, it's in their imagination." You've got the police federation saying, they didn't have it before you made them use these bloody Tetra radios." I mean, the government are trying their best to sort of play it down, but no, I mean, I think a lot of coppers are beginning to say, and the police federation especially, are beginning to say, no, we're not putting up with this anymore. They said, no more, we're not putting up with this, the lies, we're not putting up with the, let's cover our arses, let's cover industry's arses. No, they're not buying it anymore.
Well, I think what they ought to do, Michael, I mean, I know it's going to sound strange, but I think mobile phones should be banned on public transport and things like that. I mean, they banned cigarettes. Cigarettes expose people to passive smoking, like secondhand smoke, if you want to call it that. So, if we're being exposed to everybody's mobile phone and all this radio wave smog, then surely they should ban that on public transport and in restaurants and public places. That's just what I think. I'd like to see it happen, to be honest, Michael, because all these people go out for a meal, instead of talking to each other when they're in the restaurant, they're just looking at their bloody phones. And I'm thinking, well, it's supposed to be a social occasion, isn't it, when you go out and have a meal? So put the phones down or switch the bloody things off and have a chat to each other as human beings,
That's right. Yeah, well, there was I was on a bus a few years ago, and there were these phones going off, and the driver, it was only a single decker.
Yeah.
And the driver, it was distracting the driver. The sound of the tones was distracting the driver. And he pulled the bus into the bus stop, and he said, can I ask you, he said, to put your phones on silent. He said, because, he said, I'm not being funny. He said, I'm finding those tones very distracting. He said, I would just remember, he said, I'm driving a bus that has 40 people seated, and he said, and about another 26 standing. He said, if I'm distracted and I hit something, he said, that's about 66 people who are going to end up in casualty at Derriford Hospital.
Absolutely.
And everybody, and you could see everybody going, oh shit, and they could see them all putting them to silent and on vibrate. To my mind, on public transport, if it's something like a bus or a coach, it's like National Express or Megabus, then yeah, they should be told, put your mobile phone on silent and vibrate.
Well, I think that enough. I don't think that goes far enough, actually, Michael, because these things pulse and continually emit electromagnetic radiation, even if they're not switched off. Even if they're on silent, they're still pulsing this stuff. So, why should people be exposed to other people's electromagnetic radiation? Should they be forced to be exposed to that against their consent? So,
well, you see, a lot of coaches, a lot of express coaches now are fitted with mobile phone inhibitors.
Oh, right.
They fit them with mobile phone inhibitors. The only problem they've got is that some have got Wi-Fi. There's a Wi-Fi sort of module fitted into the coach, and what it does is it downloads it from the mobile via mobile signals, via a small antenna on the roof of the coach, and then it kind of retransmits it inside a metal box, basically, because what a coach or a bus is these days is basically a metal box with fiberglass or glass fiber reinforced polyester panels on the outside. Now, one thing I have seen, and it is very, very much experimental, it's not being done in this country. What they are doing is they are basically putting internet onto coaches, but what they're doing is these network cables, I mean, you can get them cheap for about, Wilco's sell them for like £2 each. They actually sell wholesale for about less than £1 each. Now, if you got people going onto say a 60-seater coach, which is a single decker, it's not going to cost you hardly anything on a ticket to just say, are you going on with a laptop or anything like that? If so, here's a complimentary network cable to plug it into the socket beside your seat.
Yeah,
that's going to solve a lot of problems. One, it's going to contain the radiation within that cable.
Yeah,
and the driver is the most important person on that coach. That you're asking a man or a woman to take responsibility for the sake of not only themselves but the 60 passengers. Now, last year I was speaking to National Express, because obviously I'm disabled, so I travel in the front seat. And yeah, I chatted to the drivers, and I was one of them. Turned out I served in the police with his father, and he was telling me a lot of things that are coming up with National Express. And one thing they are thinking of doing is bringing back stewards and stewardesses. I said, well, why the bloody hell did they take it off in the first place? He said it was to save money. He said, but now, he said, they're beginning to realise it was a false economy. He said, because he said, if you're asking somebody, he said, to take responsibility for about anything up to a 15-metre coach with anything up to about 100 people on board, he said, it's asking far too much. He said, it's asking far too much. He said, well, if you've got to concentrate on driving the damn thing, he said, and look after those, check all the tickets and everything, he said, it's just too much. He said, it can stress you out. But he said, if you've got a steward or a stewardess, he said, yeah, they look after the passengers, they look after the tickets, you just look after driving the bus and getting the, yeah.
Well, personally, Michael, I'm all for direct connections. I think Stav wants to wrap this up in a minute, but I was just going to make the point that I think I'm all for direct connections. If they want to have free internet or whatever on buses or coaches, I'm all for that. It's a direct connection. What I don't like is the idea of more and more Wi-Fi, which is being rolled out via smart meters and 5G and all this sort of stuff. So I think we need to take a step back in time, go back to direct connections where possible.
Yeah, actually, my energy provider, because I'm electrosensitive because I've got something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which unfortunately one of the consequences of it is electrosensitivity. I've told my energy provider, please do not install one of these smart meters, and I explained why. They were very good. They said, yeah, okay, right, we've got it on our system, and we won't contact you about this anymore.
That's fair play. That's fair play. I mean, I've said to my energy supplier that I would prefer not to have. I don't really consent. I don't consent to having smart meter fitted on my premises. Of course, if it goes on my neighbour's premises, he lives right below me, then I'm going to be exposed to the radiation from his smart meter. But
well, then what you can do is there are products you can get to what is the kind of thing you place into a Faraday cage. Yeah, and fitted that.
I'll tell you what I've also found out lately. I was reading somebody's post the other day, and they were saying about buying clothes that were you can get clothes that that mitigates the problems that causes electrosensitivity. You can get, I don't know what it's got in the clothes that makes it actually achieve that. But you can buy all sorts of different clothes. It's very expensive though, from what I've seen. It's extremely expensive, but there is clothes that you can wear, which would, I suppose, act in a way like a Faraday cage or something like that, Michael. I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, I mean, there are products you can get which protect you to an extent. It can't offer 100% protection. But a friend of mine, she's got Ehlers-Danlos. She said if you've got something like 4G in the room below you, yeah, and it comes up through the ceiling, yeah, it's like being kicked in the head. Now, all I've got to do is go anywhere, and you've got to use about 4 smartphones, and it feels like somebody has got a mallet and is just whacking you on the side of the head.
Yeah.
It is very, very unpleasant, and sometimes I feel quite sick and nauseous.
Yeah,
that's what it does to you.
Important also to point out, Michael, that to our viewers, that even though you may not have the same problems that Michael's got with electrosensitivity from dirty electric or whatever you want to call it, or electromagnetic smog or whatever you want to call it, you're still being exposed to it, and it's still having an effect on your body, whether you are receiving any of the actual outward symptoms or not. So I think it's important for people to realize this, that it is affecting us at some level or another, whether it's genetic or whether it's causing any other sort of neurological problems or heating within the body or whatever. It's still affecting us, even if we don't initially see any symptoms from it. So I think something's got to be done with all this, because it's just gonna get worse and worse with all the new technologies coming out that they're quickly deploying, especially with 5G, because 5G works on such a high frequency that it's a very short wavelength, which means the antennas are tiny, and they can apparently with 5G go through buildings and things like that. So what they have to do is plant them all over the place. So we're all going to be exposed to it, whether we want it or not, which I think is absolute tragedy in the making if they haven't really, looked into this and checked the safety of these devices. But anyway, I think Stav wants to wrap it. Stav, do you want to wrap it up, or have you got a few things you'd like to say? We could have a few final thoughts from everybody. And
mentioning on what the last bit you were saying. First of all, I would say, well, when you hand over power to corporations to make the rules and to make the laws, which they do, because basically the prostitute parliament, centralised governments, whore that off for a price to the professional lobbyists of these corporations. So they make the rules. Let's get this straight. Legislates it. It's already put in place by a lot of money by powerful lobbyists, from corporations. So corporations run the government. Let's not be, deluded about any of this. So it won't make any sense what we think, which is sensible and logical solutions to everything. But at the end of the day, corporates with their big money bags printed out of thin air, given to them at zero and negative interest, that make the laws. So on the radio frequency side of things, I got a full class amateur radio license in the 80s. I went and took an examination amongst some other electronic things. You started using microwave frequencies. The maximum ERP, which is effective radiated power from your antenna, was 50 watts. If you had a zero gain antenna like a dipole, which is zero, you could run 50 watts. But the improviso was that it was 100 feet away from anyone within the same view. In other words, you had to get it up high above your house. Any closer, it was a break of the regulation. And they were very serious if you were caught breaking. But what a lot of people don't realise is that with the right antenna, you can double, you can triple, you can quadruple the ERP, powerful directional antennas, from Yagi antennas, which is the TV antennas, to even parabolic dishes. If they start running 1 or 2 watts through this, through powerful Yagis or powerful dish antennas, you're going to be receiving an awful lot of damaging millimeters and 5G when it gets there. People realise, and that's very, very dangerous. If we were caught, or even the Americans, or even were more stringent on their rules years ago, were caught breaking any of those, your license was revoked for life, and you could possibly face imprisonment of 10 years. So that's how serious the regulations were taken back in those days. But it seems today anything goes, because the powerful corporates who make the laws today don't want their profits harmed, or don't want their control to be taken away. So there we are, Jeff. I've summed that up, what I wanted to say, really.
I think there's an awful lot of truth in what you're saying there, Stav. I mean, I've studied a little bit about the old radio communications myself, so, that's interesting final thought there for you, Stav. Any final thoughts from you, Lopi?
Well, no, nothing really. I just hope that I consider myself more of a naturalist. Let things happen. I don't believe in going in, putting myself through all the synthetic drugs that, like, I just recently had a heart attack. I have chest failure. I don't know what it's called.
Congestion or something, isn't it?
Yeah. And now I'm on kidney dialysis. And that's since December. Now, that's not including all the other things that I have wrong with my body. But I don't believe in filling it up with all these synthetic drugs that are, destroying our world.
Well, I agree with you. I think you've got a good point there. I think we've relied too much on these chemical compounds when there's so many things left in nature that we should be tapping into these natural cures.
The problem of that is that we're destroying the Amazon rainforest. It's great. It produces so much stuff, our medicines and everything. But the problem is we're destroying it to make the medicines.
Well, they reckon there's thousands of cures in the Amazon jungle that haven't even been discovered yet for all sorts of different illnesses. And then now we've got companies like the World Wildlife Fund and Monsanto going into the Amazon. They want to go into the Amazon and turn it into a big GMO plantation. So you're going to get rid of all that. We're going to lose all these potential cures for the sake of, you know, putting in some genetically modified products that are probably out of tune with nature anyway. And I think it's absolute madness.
Well, I'm just saying, what I'm saying, my final word is go out and eat a mud pie, roll in the grass,
get back to nature,
look at the clouds, not the whatchamacallits, the scars that are the you know, chemtrails.
Yeah.
But the real clouds, imagine what the mountain looks like down far away. Use your creativity and get back to nature. Enjoy life. You know, like PJ was saying before.
Yeah.
With the kids at the river. You know, that has become something you don't see anymore. Children playing. Go back and play. No more, I've got to beat this level on the on the video game. I've got to talk to somebody. I've got to make a text. You know, enjoy the drive in the countryside. Don't worry about your mobile. You know, better to make it to your destination than not make it at all.
Well, thanks for your final thoughts anyway, Lopi. We appreciate that. And I would tend to agree with you. It's got to be getting back to nature somehow and away from all this tech stuff. So, you know, appreciate the final thoughts there, Lopi. Anyway, any final thoughts there, Michael? Are you still with us, Michael?
I think he is. He's just on mute. Not sure if he's aware that he's on mute. I'll give my final thoughts, though, if you want, Jeff.
Yeah, go for it, PJ.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, we've gone through a lot tonight, touched on many different, you know, side angles towards the topic, which was, you know, the death of the natural world question. I think it's far from it. You know, nature's always in the position winning, and I think forever, hopefully, will remain in that position. It is a bit worrying, it is a bit daunting, you know, it is a bit scary at times, but I think nothing's more scarier than anything that's natural in nature to these elitists, you know, these people that seem to be pushing us towards this artificial intelligence world. So I think they've got a lot more to fear than what we have, because they don't really know what's natural, they don't really have anything to do with nature, they seem to be ignorant and, you know, just not interested with it. So let's leave them to it. But I think, you know, nature, as it's always proved from many historical accounts, it always seems to win in end. And going back to George Carlin video, I think that is, you know, my summary of it as well.
Well, thanks for your final thoughts there, PJ. I think, you know, you got some good points there. I think it'd be good if we could work with them rather than working against each other, us and the establishment. I would like to see them.
I think that's the key, and I think that's what, you know, this will push us to. So hopefully it might, you know, twig somewhere down the line. And
if we could get into a sort of direct democratic system at the very least, where the politicians are engaging more with the public and you know, and we're sort of picking each other's brains, I think that would be a good way forward. It'd be a good starting point anyway. But thanks for your final thoughts anyway there, PJ. Any final thoughts there, Michael, if you're still with us? No, nothing.
No, I think he's...
He did say he had to take a couple of calls, so he's probably on a phone call.
Okay, well, I think we'll wrap it up tonight then, folks. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just before we go, PJ, perhaps it's time for another great flood, eh?
Well, I don't know. These 5G, they'll probably work in underwater or something, knowing what these people are like.
Hills, who knows? You know, perhaps they'll survive or whatever. But there we are. Well, it's good. I think the answer is definitely going to come from the people, not politicians. If it comes from the politicians, you're just going to have the same old crap. And I think AI will take over. And perhaps it will be the death of human race, and perhaps they'll be happy with AI rather than the humans. What a horrible thought.
I don't think it'll get that bad. I think we can correct things and put things back to how they were, as long as it's not left too late. But I think what we need to do is to engage. We need the politicians to engage with the people. And
I don't think we need them at all, personally. But then, you know, I'm a political atheist, so.
Well, no, I think if they engage with
the only way you're going to do that is if you infiltrate these corporations that are, you know, paying him to do what effectively to do and say what they do. Then that's the only way you're going to do it. But you're not going to change a politician because they don't wait for you.
No, that's right.
Well, possibly that. I mean, that's on the negative side. You could well be right there, folks. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Good night, folks. Take care, Stav, Lopi.
Yes, Jeff.
Good night, all.
Laters. Cheers.